Hi, everyone. This is Jules with Starcaster Radio, and I have Naomi, Barbara, and Erica here with us today. And we are just opening our hearts and sending you all so much love as we create this star community. And we are going to start with the Breaking Infinity activation with Naomi.
Oh, thank you, Jules. So I will be reading Breaking Infinity activation from Jules' book, Transcendence, A Journey into Oneness Through the God Particle. Sit on the earth in ceremony and allow the figure 8 to run from the core of the earth to the center of the 8, meets in your sacred heart. And the top of the 8 encircles the stars. The energy of your heart, the earth, and the universe all move in the infinity sign. As the energy circulates, you collect a higher frequency. Ask for your DNA to awaken to the codes of the Trinity. As you program your DNA, the earth is also programmed. You continue this process until the frequency of the 8 raises up to 11.888888, and it goes on because it's infinite. I ask that the infinity be broken. With my intention, I ask to go back to the beginning, before infinity ever existed. I re-enter the God particle and create from God, where no karma or law exists. I break infinity and return to the divine. You now have broken infinity and brought in the frequency of God. It enters the DNA, activating a prism of light connected to divine intelligence. The center point of the infinity sign moves up to your third eye. The moon of the new earth moves inside the new sun. You enter into darkness. In this darkness, the sun becomes fluid. In this moment, your body and the infinity sign become fluid, allowing you to break open infinity. The infinity sign becomes X. The moon moves out of the sun, and the new sun shines once again. You now have a vortex in your third eye, opening to the stars and to the core of the earth. In this frequency of the divine, all the strands of your DNA are activating. The template of the God particle within your third eye is activating. The door is opening. Everything you need is within you. Walk in stillness. You are God. Thank you, I love you, and it is done.
Thank you, Naomi. That was amazing. Okay, I'm just going to go right in and just read a couple of paragraphs. And it's so funny because I'm reading this and I feel like I've read it before, but we're going to go ahead with this. Okay, so the key speaks of how the earth specifies has direct light arch, a direct light focus which controls its biological rhythms. Man will soon learn that his life system is not directly dependent upon the solar magnetic field paradigm to regenerate his biological rhythms. A new source of light is now reaching our solar system. Is this what you read the other day, Barbara?
What chapter is it?
304, or it's
I don't think so. I don't think this
4.
Yeah,
oh my
it's
gosh,
not.
I feel like this is
what page? What page is it?
379.
No, I don't think so. I think it was 373.
Okay, because I just feel like I know this. Okay. A new source of light is now reaching our solar system and interrupting Earth's magnetic field, altering the biological rhythms. This is forcing the species to leave behind its old time cell of perception on the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual levels. This must take place before the species can go into the new time cell of consciousness with a unified perception. I think I'm just going to stop there because I feel like that's exactly what we were just talking about. And I know I say this all the time, but, that like the shift has already happened, and now it's just letting our state of consciousness catch up and realize that the shift has happened. And then when it's talking about this new source of light that's coming in, I feel like it's just talking again what we talked about the other day about the new suns coming and changing the frequency of our consciousness.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Julie. That does sound really familiar. I don't know. Maybe I
right? I'm like, I know
remember
this already.
How funny.
Well, yeah.
I mean, know.
Julie, it's as if we talked about, we are living in the fifth dimension. We are here. We have arrived, but we're operating with third dimensional programming. So as we move through life, we need to learn to break out of our comfort zone and to step into the unknown because we're already living in it. And what's not working is our old way of thinking and our old way of making decisions. And there's a disconnect because we're actually part of that already.
Wow.
Exactly.
It's deciding, it's making decisions based on trust rather than decisions based on fear. And our fifth dimension is the trust. It's our faith in the unknown. And the third dimension is our fear because it's our old programming and it's our comfort zone. It's what we know. So it's stepping out of that comfort zone and just embracing where our consciousness as a collective whole wants to be, which is in the fifth dimension.
Yes.
Okay, so guys, let's do this. Let's step on the New Earth platform. And let's just make an intention to embrace our consciousness on the fifth dimension.
Yeah.
And just welcome it and say, I resonate with this frequency.
Do I feel the shift in that?
I just had this strange pain in my solar plexus. It was almost like a purging type pain, physical pain.
So just breathe and let it go. Just release that and surrender it because that's your attachment to third dimension. So how about we add to it, I release my attachment to third dimension.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that. I release my attachment to the third dimension. I feel like that just goes right into what you're going to be talking about today, Erica.
Yeah, it's amazing. So I get full body chills because I just need to let everybody know there's so much love. I love you all so much that, again, we are all so connected. And with the Keys of Enoch and with the activation, it's just all in alignment. So astrology speaking, yesterday, Saturn went direct. And so what people aren't aware of, or maybe if you're not familiar with, Saturn is the furthest planet visible from the naked eye of Earth. So in an esoteric sense, Saturn is the gatekeeper who initiates your access to deeper subconsciousness, to a deeper level of understanding and hearing your soul. And a lot of times Saturn will have like a negative reputation because it forces you to become the master that you already truly are. It forces you to look inside and focus on your inner self. It's almost as if Saturn is like your godfather. or your authority figure that's making you grow up. And it's a little hard on you because it makes you understand your structure and self-discipline is for a greater good. It makes you operate from a higher evolution than from the old patterns that you recognize and, again, that you're familiar with, just what we talked about. You know, it makes you release the old patterns and embrace the new, which, again, oh my gosh, it's just so alignment. So Saturn went retrograde on April 30th of 2019, so about 5 months ago. And so that pretty much what it's asking or what it means is it's kind of like a self-check mode. Like it's asking you to look back and apply everything that you learned, like the physical energies that you took on, some of your experiences, some of your relationships. Like it just really makes you reflect on what you've been through and how to put it into your inner wisdom and inner knowledge, how to connect it to your truth and your soul. And so by acknowledging it, you are automatically upgrading yourself. And so, you know, interestingly enough, like bringing in other planets, during the time that Saturn went direct, during these last 5 months, it shared space, like energetic space in the solar system with the planet Pluto, which is your energy of transformation. It was the south node of the moon, which is more or less like past lives, your gifts, your talents, your tools, and it's being supported through the new moon, which is actually joining both past and present to evolve into the future. So as we go direct, it's requiring you, it's making you, it's forcing you to let go of those past energies, to let go of your self-boundaries, your self-restrictions, to let go of the excuses or your 3D programming that holds you back. It's making you step up as a collective whole and as an individual soul, because we're all one, and yet we all have the same light within us. So it's making you do both. So as we move through the rest of the year, things that may have worked in the past is not going to work now. It's just not. It's eventually going to remove itself. Maybe there were relationships that aren't benefiting you. Those may fade away because we're all being called as a human consciousness to evolve and to step up. And some of us are ready and some of us are not. The beauty of our path in fifth dimension is that we have free will. We can choose to make decisions in the fifth, or we can choose to stay in our old programming in the third. So it's a really powerful time individually and together to grow and to step into our own, step into the master that we have been asked to show by having this experience on the physical plane.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And, you know, I love the, I know I keep saying bringing the decision thing up, but, you know, I just got back from this really great conference, and the whole time I kept thinking, like, this is giving me chills, that, you know, everyone that's here was in a decision. And, you know, and as we raise in frequency and we keep moving into, like, acknowledging the consciousness or awakening to the fact that we're already in the fifth dimension, our decisions are going to keep getting bigger. And what I mean by that is that it's more, I don't want to say more risk, but it's going to be more of like those big unknown decisions, and just going with your gut of like, yes, this is what I'm supposed to do, you know. And then we make those, and I'm saying these bigger decisions because there's more of a, I guess risk is the right word, or there's more of this, you know, we have our little decisions that we have. Yes, thank you, Naomi. And so it's, you know, and when we're stepping into a decision where it's truly changing our life path from there in one way or another, you know, and all our decisions do that, but the decisions that we're moving into now are really doing that. And it's like, and once we like decide and we step into that new earth pattern, you know, it's so normal to start to question it and be like, well, is this safe? And, you know, did I make the wrong decision? And all of those old programming start to come up because our body is wanting to resist the change, and especially a change where there is no pathway that's lit up for us in the front, and we have to just find our way through it. So it's really reprogramming us out of this primal being of I always have to be safe, and reprogramming from a program that's already been set there. And that's when we start to question. We go back into those old programmings, but to really stay in that place of, I am actually creating a new wire. I am creating a new matrix system of a new earth decision. And the only way I can do that is to continue to stay in the frequency of this unknown space and allow the form to eventually come. But until form is there, I have to stay in that place of trust.
Can I add on to that? Oh, I would love to share an experience. Yeah, so this week I had this experience that was just really third dimensional, and it just felt really third dimensional, and I didn't really resonate with it. And anyways, I could totally feel how my normal self would feel in third dimension. And I sat with it for, 15, 20 minutes. And then I said, well, how would this feel having the same experience from fifth dimension? And as soon as I asked, you guys, it's giving me the chills. As soon as I asked, my perspective changed. And I just saw the person that I was having this third dimensional experience with really just wanted my approval and my love and my support, but didn't quite know how to get it except through the old programming. And so something I might have felt was third dimensional or a little bit negative, when I asked myself, well, how does this feel in fifth dimension, it was actually quite beautiful.
Wow. That's super. I've been having some struggles too with this third dimensional, wanting to keep acting like I always have acted in the third dimensional reality because it's comfortable. And so I have made a commitment to myself to ask when I get into this old programming and I recognize it, that I'm in this old programming and reacting in the same way, to make a choice that I can continue if I choose, or I can step into the fifth dimension and operate from the fifth dimension with the same interaction. And when I do that, all of a sudden everything switches. I am like I am not into, I can't even explain it. It's like I've biolocated somehow. And even though I'm still able to interact with that situation, it's from a higher level, and it totally comes out beautifully, and everything dissipates. So that's my commitment to, when I know that I'm moving into this third dimensional old karmic pattern, to break that pattern and to step up into the fifth dimension and interact with it in a more positive way.
All we have to do is ask how it would feel in the fifth dimension, and then it's just instantly answered.
That's true.
And it is a choice. Like, there are going to be times where if you want to operate third dimension, it's okay, because maybe you just need that for a moment. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want people to start beating themselves up because they're not always operating from fifth dimension. That's the beauty of it. The more we recognize the difference between us choosing to make a decision using fifth dimension or third dimension, the more aware it becomes to us, and the easier it'll get as we grow. The easier it'll get on a daily basis. Like, I don't want anybody to say, oh my gosh, I made a third dimensional pattern decision. That's okay, because you're aware of it. And that's the first step in any kind of evolution and growth, is just fully being aware. And the more aware you are and the more you can see those differences, the easier it's going to be to grow and operate from fifth dimension.
Yes,
so
that's right, exactly.
As we are making these fifth dimensional choices, we are opening new pathways for ourselves, and it will be easier when we are in the third dimension to enter into those new pathways.
Yeah, the whole thing was, for me, is to recognize what I'm doing, to recognize that I'm in third dimension. And, and even when I was able to move out of the third dimension into the fifth dimension, I stayed in that third dimension for a while, because it's what it took to shock me enough to recognize I didn't like that energy, to allow me then to make that choice. But like you said, Erica, you have to allow yourself sometime to go through that process in order to be able to recognize it and move on, so it's a positive thing.
Well, and I just want to bring an example. Like whenever you go back home, you fall into old family patterns. It doesn't matter how far you've moved away. The second you're back in your hometown with your home environment, you're back to your old self as you were when you were a kid. And you're like, oh, my gosh, why am I like this? Because it's what you know, it's comforting, right? And then the second you move away and you get out of it, it's like you almost need a vacation from your family vacation because you have to reprogram yourself to being you again because you just went back to when you were a kid. And that's very, very normal. But it happens often. And so people that know you as you will be like, who are you when you're with your family? You're changing. But that's why. It's because we're just going back to what was comfortable. And that's just how we were programmed. That's how our family dynamic was built. And so it's okay because it happens often, like all the time.
Yes. But the more you interact with your family in a different way, because you slowly move into that different way, then they begin to recognize you in a different way. So you have evolved in front of their eyes without them ever recognizing that you have evolved. So you become the new you who they identify as you. If that makes sense.
That totally makes sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, it's a thing that you work on. It's an ongoing thing, but you don't become this spiritual, highly evolved entity overnight. And if you did, no one would recognize you. And that's not the purpose of the reason we're here.
Right. And we're raising their frequency as our own frequency raises, right? Because we're all connected. And so because I think sometimes third dimensional fear will come into place. Like if I evolve and grow, my family won't approve. My family won't love me. I'll lose my family. And that's third dimensional thinking. There's a fear of detachment, right? And so if you just know that as you raise, they raise with you, you'll never be alone. Because I think at the end of the day, a lot of people are so afraid to be alone, especially on this spiritual journey, because they know that we're all meant to be as one. And there's a fear in that if I do this to become one in some way, I'm going to isolate myself and be alone in that, when it's just the opposite. Right. You're bringing everybody along with you.
Right. I agree, because that was my fear, that I would not be able to fit into my family, and they wouldn't know who I am, and they wouldn't be able to interact with me, and I didn't want to separate myself. And I hadn't thought about that before, but in not wanting to separate yourself, you're remembering that we're all one. So it becomes almost a distorted separation that you're feeling, which is something you have to work through.
I think just in what you just said, Barbara, is the perfect example of making the decision to move into higher frequencies, but then experiencing that decision from old programming. And it's in that, when we recognize, I'm even coming up with the theory of I'm going to leave people behind, or I'm going to separate from them if I make this decision, is from a third dimensional program. Right.
And it feels totally alienating. It feels totally alien from our inner knowingness that we are one. But it's a distortion, but it's very valid. And so I think a lot of times that has helped me back, just feeling like if I become this person I want to be, who I know I am, I will alienate myself from everyone and everything I know. And it's a fear thing. So it's something that, you have to transition in a easy, positive way without getting too bogged down into thinking you have to do this overnight or you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing.
So we've said it before, but when we're feeling like this, let's do it now. Just step on the New Earth platform and just connect to our authentic self, our star home frequency, and that can just, just that simple intention will just reset us and surrender our fear.
Yeah, I surrender. Thank you. I love you. It is done.
It is done. I love tuning into my star home frequency.
Well, there's all kinds of little entrapments in this whole process. But the key to it, in my opinion, is just to recognize that as an entrapment, because we have all kinds of belief systems. But if you can identify whatever belief system is coming up in your life, whether it be, I am going to disconnect from all my family if I move into the new earth, that, for instance, that is a fear-orientated entrapment. So I think it's for all of us to contemplate every time we get something that feels like a roadblock onto our for our journey that we're on, and recognize it, ask it, and ask what this is, and identify it, and see, ask, is this the truth, or is this a roadblock? And by doing that, you can dissipate these fear-based roadblocks that keep you from moving on, on your spiritual journey.
Mhm.
It's really so simple.
It is. Every time I think of this, I think, well, that's simple. I think more than anything that what the biggest roadblock is for me is making it too complicated. And also not taking time to recognize what it is that's holding me back, or why I'm getting this fear-based feeling. And it takes time to focus on that. And in our busy daily lives, we're so busy moving in this third dimension that we don't recognize those roadblocks and those signs. They just pass by like you're moving on a freeway. And all of a sudden, you see this blip of something, but it's a sign, and you didn't even take time to look at it. So that's been my new focus, is to take time to pay attention and to recognize the signs along the way.
Well, I'd like to add that when somebody wants to try to resonate and then be like, wait, how do I resonate? The difference between, is it a roadblock or is it my truth? Like, if you take a deep breath in and just feel your body, you'll be able to feel the pull or the push away from it. And if there's a push or a resistance, that's clearly the roadblock or obstacle. But if there's a pull towards it, then that's clearly your truth. Like, we can feel everything inside of us. We don't need to look outside for the signs. All we need to do is stop and take a deep breath and feel it. And then from there, we'll be guided. It is that simple. It takes a simple second. But sometimes people get so caught up in that they're looking outside of themselves, when in truly all they need to do is take a deep breath in and feel.
Yes. Take time. Take time and pay attention, and that's all there is to it. And it's nothing more than an affirmation that you do for yourself. You just make that affirmation, and it is so. But it's taking time.
I would love to add one more thing, just from what Barbara and Erica were just talking about. Like, I feel like I'm so on autopilot, so I would just like to just make an intention, like stand on the New Earth platform and make an intention. I just really want to turn off the autopilot and just really exist in the now.
Beautiful. Yes.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I resonate really well with that.
Mhm. So I think, like, let's just make it the intention over, this next week, that we just take some moments throughout our day, maybe even like set an alarm for like every hour or something, that we just take a moment to connect to that again and again so our body starts to remember that that's its true existence.
Good idea. Mhm.
Yeah. Whew.
I love
wow.
breathing
Well,
that
does anybody have anything else that they want to add? I'm tired from my weekend, so I'm having trouble focusing.
I just feel
nothing.
this feels like a complete download of the frequency that wanted to come in today.
Yeah. And I fully took a deep breath and felt it. I just felt it.
Yes.
Well,
I
Barbara,
almost feel like we should. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes. Did you want me to do the closing now?
I was going to say, when you close, I'm just really going to breathe this frequency in, and that's going to be where I'm going to hold space in my heart and just breathe this in when you do the close today, Barbara.
That's what I was going to say too. No, I'm just going to breathe. I'm going to breathe in this New Earth platform. I'm going to breathe in our intentions and just breathe in the energy that we're supposed to operate from fifth dimension decisions.
Yes, I love that. And let's just make the intention to all just fully connect in that frequency, and send it to, just connect to everyone that's listening to this as we really just create our soul family and intertwine this matrix of just pure divine love.
Amen.
So
good to me.
My heart just opened on that, Jules, when you said that. The matrix of divine love, my heart expanded.
Okay.
Okay, Barbara, go ahead.
Okay. Taking a deep breath, breathing in all of the intentions we have spoken about, realizing all that's necessary is to intend your purpose, realizing that you are in control of your own decisions, realizing that it is your choice in everyday life what you choose to do, where you choose to be, and how you choose to react to those around you and your own circumstances, knowing that we're all protected and that we're all connected by the beautiful ray of light that connects us to our Creator, and knowing that we are on the pathway moving back to the one, the only one who created us in His own image. And in realizing this, we understand that there is no need for fear, and all we need to do is recognize that He is protecting us, He is guiding us, and we're on our pathway back to the one Creator. I love you, and it is done.
It is done.
So be it.
All right. Love to you all. Until next week, we are sending you a great big hug from the New Earth.
So much love.
Namaste.
Bye.